You're watching the NWR Virtual Investor Conference, May 2020. We have Nelson Resources on the line today. Nelson Resources is a gold exploration company with a portfolio of wholly owned gold projects located in Western Australia. Nelson's projects are located within the eastern goldfields superterrain of the Yilgarn, Craton, and the boundary of the Albany-Fraser origin, which contains substantial greenstone belts considered highly prospective for gold mineralisation and has the potential to host a Tropicana-style deposit. Adam Schofield joins us today. He is the Executive Director of Nelson Resources. Adam is a mining company executive with over 20 years' experience in the resources sector in Australia and Africa. He has significant experience in conducting feasibility studies and taking projects from feasibility stage into operations. He also has extensive experience in gold, copper, mineral sands, and iron ore. Over to you, Adam.
Thank you, Lauren. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us for a presentation. We're Nelson Resources. We're listed on the ASX in 2017, December of. I'll get into the presentation, but I'll start with the cautionary statements. It's a fairly generic statement, so I won't go into depth on that. Trying to change a page. We have a very tightly held capital structure with 52 million shares in issue. We're currently trading at 3.5 cents and have a market capitalization of 1.84 million. Our board is made up of myself, Warren Hallam is our chairman, and Steve Brockhurst is an non-exec director. He's also our company secretary. Our top 10 shareholders account for over 40% of the register and are very supportive. I'll get into an overview of the company. As I said, we're listed in 2017. We have 5 wholly owned gold projects in the Albany-Fraser origin, Eastern Goldfields and Fortnum area. Predominantly, the bulk of our work to date has been done in the Eastern Goldfields. Altogether, we have 886 square kilometres of tenure. We originally listed with 20 square kilometres, so in 24 months, we've built a substantial land package. The bulk of this land package is in the Woodline Project. This was previously a Sipa Newmont project, and MRG has also held it at a different stage. Altogether, $14 million worth of exploration has been spent within that project. There are 4 sizable identified targets within that. Redmill, Grindall, and Harvey are the main projects within that, which all sit on the Albany-Fraser Northern Frontier boundary and have the potential to host Tropicana-sized and scaled deposits. There is 30 kilometres of unexplored greenstone within the tenure, which really has had no attention at all. And we believe that as a package, we have possibly one of the best exploration opportunities in Western Australia. With the amount of work done and the potential for these projects, we really do see opportunity. We see the value add for shareholders being significant, and with our current share price, and there is obviously lots of opportunity in our stock. That is a map of our project locations. We're fairly widely spread in Western Australia. We're currently looking at divesting our Wilga Well and Yerry projects and our Fortnum project. We really are trying to focus on the Albany-Fraser range. There is significant activity around us currently. The map on the right there just shows our tenement package in relation to Anglo-Ashantis, but what it doesn't show is that map is a checkerboard of tenure. We have FMG taken up a significant land position to the northwest of us, and we're surrounded on all sides by Legend, IGO, etc. So it's a very hot area. We've been quite fortunate in pulling our land package together. We did it at a time when no one else was necessarily interested in the Albany-Fraser or was struggling with the GFC. So we've managed to do a fairly decent job of putting together a very important project in our view. Obviously, within the region, you have Tropicana, which is a 7.8 million ounce resource currently. It sits in the same geological structure as we do, which is the hanging wall of the Albany-Fraser origin, and we're in the northern frontier of that, or northern Foreland. On the Greenstone Belt, we sit in the Noresman-Wiluna Greenstone Belt, and we have an intersect of both the Albany-Fraser and that belt. There are a number of faults that terminate within our tenement. So there is significant exploration opportunity in the tenure, and that is visible at surface through a number of anomalies, and there is significant potential for unexplored areas within the tenure. We have a better land position than any modern explorers before us. This ground was originally held by Newmont in the 90s. Through the early 2000s, Sipa took control of the package, or a similar package, and brought Newmont back in as their joint venture partner. The project was made up of a number of joint ventures with other entities, not just Newmont. Currently, we have all of the tenure in Woodline, which is 717 square kilometers, in our 100% control. There are three distinct exploration opportunities within the tenure. I've already mentioned the northern Foreland Tropicana style target, which is a very exciting opportunity. We're looking at very deep-seated structures, and structurally the settings are identical to Tropicana. There is a 20-kilometer anomaly that has had limited exploration. There is RC drilling which confirms that it is a rock anomaly, and there is new understanding of this project. The Greenstone belts really have had no attention. Historically, there's been limited auger work and geochem. The cover is fairly thin through this area, but we think there's massive potential here. As I say, there's up to 30-kilometer of Greenstone belt within the tenement. As I mentioned, FMG is just north of us. Silver Lake, Bombora, there's a number of recent discoveries on that Greenstone belt. Just another thing worth mentioning is the junction of the Wiluna Noresman Greenstone and northern Foreland. We have a nickel anomaly in this location, and geologically it's extremely interesting. Previous work done, 14,500 meters of auger work is done by Sipa Newmont across the Grindall-Redmill-Harvey projects, 3,900 meters of air core. There's only 84 RC holes across a 20-kilometer identified anomaly, which is very limited. There are 5 diamond holes done by MRG, significant aeromagnetics, gravity surveys, orthophoto and DM work's been done, limited IP over the Socrates project, which is in the northern part of the tenement. Socrates, which is the project on the northern eastern side of the tenement, has had probably the most work done by ourselves, and was our listing asset at 12 square kilometers. Notable intercepts in that are 1 meter at 142 grams by Sipa, 192 at half a gram by ourselves, 8 meters at 3.5 grams by ourselves again, and 25 meters at 2 grams by ourselves. Significant opportunity in this tenure. From a scale perspective, we think the Albany Fraser origin will deliver a significantly bigger resource than is available at Socrates, but it will still be impressive, we believe. With the Albany Fraser origin, as I mentioned before, we have deep-seated structures. There is evidence of reworked Archeans within the drilling done at Tropicana, at Redmill, which is obviously similar to Tropicana. Seismic work done in 2012 and the work published in 2014 has really given a strong understanding of the structures that are at play. We sit in the Cunderley Fault, which is in the northern Foreland of the Albany Fraser origin, and this is identical in setting to Tropicana. So deep-seated structures are what you're looking for gold systems, and there is an apparent gold anomaly at the surface these structures. So we believe there's very, very strong opportunity for a substantial deposit. Focused drilling and high resolution magnetics are our plan in the near future across the Redmill, Grindall and Harvey projects. We believe this will identify existing structures, better delineate drill targets, and we already have results from Sipa, the best intersect and the best intersect in one of their last holes that they did was 10 meters at 1.3 grams. The core of that was 7 grams per meter. We think there's a structure there that's been identified. A lot of the drilling was parallel to structures, which is ineffective. So we think we can do this work better. This is an image of the geochemistry across the Woodline Project. What you're looking at is 100 ppb through the core of the geochemistry. This is what came out of the auger program from Sipa Newmont. The grey areas that are highlighted around Redmill, Grindall and Harvey are where the bedrock correlates to the surface anomaly. So we have very substantial targets out here that really have had very little RC drilling. In the top right hand side of the image is Tropicana to scale. I've put that in really to demonstrate just how large this anomaly is, and within the Tropicana image, the red is the high grade, and on the scale that we're looking at for this geochemistry anomaly and the bedrock anomaly, you could fit Tropicana into this multiple times. So massive opportunity on the Foreland. I won't go through the geology of this specifically because I've covered that already. But some of the intersects, as I say, are reasonable, being that they're all first pass exploration from an RC perspective. The Noresman Wiluna Greenstones, I've already covered that as well. As I say, 30 kilometers of untested greenstones. This greenstone belt runs parallel to the Keith Kilkenny fault and to the Claypan shear. The Keith Kilkenny fault on the Wiluna end of it hosts Bellevue, amongst others. It also hosts Mount Keith. On the southern end, closer to us, Bombora is a recent discovery, somewhere between 650,000 ounces and 1 million ounces, depending on grade. And that's only 90 kilometers north on the Greenstone Belt. There are some smaller mining areas north of us, 600,000 ounces with Silver Lake, which is about 40 kilometers north of us. And there are lots of exploration, or there is lots of exploration work occurring just north with some fairly impressive results coming out of that work. In summary, Nelson's primed, we believe, to deliver significant exploration results in the next 12 to 18 months. We have a fairly solid drill program based on 6 to 8 years worth of work by Sipa and Newmont, and 12 months worth of work by ourselves. We've reconsolidated a substantial database, applied a new perspective to it, which aligns with recent understanding of the geology in the Albany Fraser origin. And we really believe that we can add value to shareholders with that knowledge. Something else with the database is it's never been correlated or brought together in one snapshot. It's always been in separate pieces across that 6 years of time. Looking at all of the data holistically, it really is an amazing tenement package with some amazing opportunity. Value within the company, we've acquired $40 million worth of data in the last 12 months from Sipa, and that data it's invaluable for this tenement package, and we really believe it will take the company a long way. So we still are accumulating small pockets of tenure around us, but as I think I mentioned earlier, there really is no space left in the Albany Fraser at this point. When we started pulling the tenure together just over 12 months ago, 18 months ago, you couldn't give some of this ground away at the time. So we had a vision based on this data set we'd acquired from Sipa, and we've worked on that vision, and we believe we've come up with an outcome that should set us up going forwards. And as mentioned before, we have the potential to really develop and produce a large-scale gold deposit out here. So I believe I'm nearly up with time, and yeah, if there's any questions, that'd be great.
Thanks for that, Adam. We've got some questions that have come through in the last couple of minutes as you've been speaking. Andrew wants to know, what is your first priority drilling target and how much drilling would be needed to test it?
We have an 800-meter RC program planned within the Redmill-Grindall-Harvey targets, and a 3,000-meter air core program. Those are really designed to better delineate where we are seeing these expressions in the bedrock, and we believe we can see, we expect to see better results and have come before us.
And there has been mention of successful work being undertaken by other parties to the north of the Noresman Wiluna Greenstone project. Who has been doing this work?
Breaker Resources has the Bombora project, and it is a discovery. It's a recent discovery. Scale could be debatable based on announcement, but there is 1 million ounces at 1.3 grams, and it's a structure that appears will continue to grow. And geologically, on the Greenstone belts, it's incredibly similar to the Greenstones that we have. If anything, we're in a geologically more intense setting, so there is the potential to see much more interesting results.
Back to your last comment before that about the drilling, there was mention of surface gold anomalies. What is the magnitude of these results? That's another one from Andrew.
Yeah, the maximum result within the anomaly is 100 ppb. That's against a background of around 2 ppb regionally. So it's quite a significant anomaly. We're also sitting in 30 meters of cover. So to be seeing that expression correlated at surface from the top of bedrock is significant.
Mm-hmm. Right. And with the Woodline tenement package, Adam, why had that not been acquired sooner? Why was it left to Nelson to pick up?
We were a little fortunate in timing. So when we listed in 2017, I think you probably recall there were very few listings at the time. Junior explorers were fairly shunned and have been for a substantial period of time. The GFC, the impacts of the GFC certainly are only now beginning to ease as a junior explorer. We picked up the Socrates project originally as a listing tenement. It was 12 square kilometers. The reason we picked it up is it had a significant, had a reasonable amount of work done by Sipa Newmont. And as part of that process, we acquired the database from Sipa and probably realized the potential for the regional tenure, and subsequently started to pull it together. And as you can imagine, we've been fairly quiet about our activities in that regard, because we certainly didn't want to start a tenure rush on the project. So timing was we were very fortunate. We also brought in the Grindall project as an acquisition fairly early on in the piece, and so between the two tenements, we then had two tenements that we wanted to surround with a land holding. So.
In your view, Adam, why did Sipa and Newmont let it go? Was it the gold price at the time, or?
It's fairly well publicised in Sipa's announcements. The Newmont side of what happened is less obvious because they don't make announcements about their tenure holdings. Newmont refocused on opportunities overseas around 2010, and I believe there was a tenement swap between Lake Lefroy and Sipa, and Woodline. Sipa took the Woodline tenure off Newmont, and vice versa. Subsequent to that, the GFC occurred, and around 2010-11, Sipa's fairly public in trying to find a new joint venture partner, which was unsuccessful, and they were touting Tropicana all the way through that time. So the tenure then went pretty much to the wind. I believe MRG picked it up, but running through the GFC as a junior explorer is not a great place to be. So the tenements all lapsed or been dropped, and we've just been very fortunate, as I say, to pick it up.
Jumping back a little bit now, Adam, to one of the questions from before about the surface gold anomalies. We've had another question come in about about how does that compare to the Tropicana original anomaly?
Well, so Tropicana originally was found on a 5 ppb anomaly, and there is talk that once they got into it, there was pockets at 1,000 ppb. The larger project and the early stage aspect of the project really is very similar to where we are now, and we've done a timeline of Tropicana from discovery or initial potential discovery through to final drill out, and we're very, very similar to the early phases of where Tropicana was at, or where IGO was at before Anglo-Ashanti came in as a joint venture partner. So we see parallels there, but yeah, from an anomaly perspective, we think we have a greater anomaly, and certainly a greater scale anomaly.
To wrap up today, Adam, we've got a couple of questions around exploration budget and cash on hand. Have you given any thought, I'm assuming you have, to what your exploration budget for 2021 for Woodline would look like, and are there any walk-up targets that you've already identified there?
Yeah, exploration budget / targets are a little bit of a moving thing at this point with the state of the world. We have a fairly clear plan to spend circa $2 million in the next 18 months on exploration. It's a fairly robust exploration program. We will obviously adapt our program to suit conditions. We are trying to be smart about the exploration, and we have been smart about our exploration to date. We believe very strongly in basic geophysics, for example, ground magnetics, and we have all our own equipment to do a lot of that work, so we can do it quite cost effectively. Although we have a very robust exploration project planned, we do need to be sensible about how we're spending money, obviously.
Yeah, so given the current company cash position, how are you planning to fund these projects, and are you looking to raise cash? Well,
we're a junior explorer. We're always looking to raise cash. There are avenues to do that currently. The ASX has certainly helped with additional capacity from raising. At this point, we have sufficient funds to see us through in the near term, and we have conserved funds. We conserved funds almost immediately. The coronavirus became noticeable, and that we believe is paid off. We have enough capital to manage us through the crisis, and we'll obviously look to improve our cash position post that.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Adam.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you, NWR.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for staying on the line. If you buzz back in a couple of minutes time, we do have Tesoro Resources joining us, and they are of course focused on exploring and developing gold projects in South America. Come back in, get a coffee, and we'll see you soon.